Hey everybody. I got back just a couple hours ago from Exodus, Gods and Kings, and I am tired. It's 2 in the morning, like 2:22 in the morning right now. Um, I meant to do this earlier, but I didn't have my laptop with me at the time, and Sam was supposed to see this with me, and she couldn't make it. I'm kind of glad she didn't because there was a lot of horse killing in this movie. She would have just been like, ah! But I hope that's my caption for when it spots just me and my hands like, ooh. Should just stay like that for 10 minutes straight. Hope it works. So yeah, no, I'm just gonna do that. I'm tired, but no, I'm still talking about it. So yeah, Gods and Kings, Exodus, Gods and Kings. Um, yeah, this is it's the retelling of Moses. It's the whole Ten Command. Well, not the Ten Commandments. It is the retelling of Moses, the Exodus of the Hebrews. The plagues. Him. Dealing with God and all that stuff. So it's him. It's his story. And Christian Bale, Joel Edgerton, playing Moses and Ramesses. Um, so yeah. Um, Overall, I actually really enjoy. I thought this was a really nice, well, not really nice, a good reinterpretation of the story of Moses, because we've seen it again and again. I mean, can't really say how many different versions there are, but there are definitely several different versions. You got the Ten Commandments, the Child Ass, and you got the Prince of Egypt. Grant, no one's singing in this one, but I'm sure there's more I'm missing. But no, this is a different. I liked this version a lot. I liked how they handled the mythos. I liked how they were how the all the acting was perfectly fine. Um, Christian Bale was really definitely giving his all in this movie. You could see the performance he was giving, and it was a very solid performance. It was. Um, yeah, I'll just go by some of the. I'll just go segment by segment. I'm tired, so I'm not all together here. So bear with me while I'm talking about this. Um, so yeah, Christian Bale, he's Moses, and this is a different type of Moses we have. We haven't seen this type of Moses yet. Um, for lack of a better term, he's the warrior Moses a little bit. He's the Moses who has seen battle, who we see in combat, who is a strong leader, but who's also human, who's also just a man trying to live and figure out what is right and what is wrong, and trying to come to terms with who he is and who he is to God, I suppose. And uh, something I liked about this, how he portrays Moses, is there's two different. Again, I'm going by Ten Commandments and um, Prince of Egypt because those are the two that stick in my mind when I hear about the story of Moses and the Ten Commandments um, in Exodus. Um, the scene where he basically is explaining to his wife about seeing the burning bush and God, basically. In Ten Commandments, he just comes up all awe-inspired and struck. Just slowly explains it to her. And Prince of Egypt, you just see him like it's no dialogue, but you see him frantically explaining the what happened with the burning bush. And this, he nearly dies. There's like a mud and rock slide, and there's a burning bush. He's kind of like stuck in mud basically, and his leg's broken and he's explaining it like he's going mad. Because after he's explained to his wife, like, because he's basically dealing with a broken leg, trying to heal from that. It's like he's got a fever. He's looking frantic, and just and like she's in shock, basically. Like a normal person in shock would be going through like a physical ordeal and pain, and yet he's trying to explain to his wife, uh, what he saw and stuff like that. She's actually tried to explain, like, no, maybe it was just a hallucination. You got hit on the head. Like, no, I saw it before the hit on the head, and stuff like that. And that was a really I like that, and how he's trying to basically cope with God himself. Because the way they handled God in this was different than I've normally seen them handle God in a movie like this, or God in general. And Moses telling is that God shows up in the original versions of the movie. Original versions. in the prior to Prince of Egypt and Ten Commandments, and when I'm just gonna say the other two movies from now on because I don't want to keep referencing them. So when I say the other two movies from now on, the other review, I'm talking about Prince of Egypt and Ten Commandments. The other two movies, we hear God's voice. He speaks through the burning bush. We don't really see God, hear God, or see God really any other time, as far as I can remember. In this, God, the voice of God shows up as the physical as a kid. The physical embodiment of God's voice is a kid. God is a kid in this, and he's continually there. We actually see this version of God is a kid. So we're actually seeing Moses have this conversation with this kid who is essentially God. He's the voice of God. So, and he's almost fucking haunting him at points. Moses comes up to see his son just sitting there, like, can't sleep. And God, originally, when he showed up to Moses, was like playing with stones, making like a little pyramid. So when he sees, like, what are you making there? And he just turns around. And it's almost like a fucking, like, horror movie where it's the God kid's face on his son. And he's just fucking scared out of his mind for a second. And then he sees his son again. And I lines I expected to come from his interactions with the godchild, I guess we'll say, child God, did not come up. Because I'm thinking, like, how I mean, if God showed up as a kid to me, how would I, talk to him and stuff like that? And when God is basically bringing down the plagues, he's basically explaining, it's like he's like, you want revenge? He's like, I want them. He's like, they've been suffering. He's like, I want them at my knees. I'm just like, so I was half expecting her home for a line. It's like, so you're not just a child in form, you're a child in mind then. Because what's revenge gonna do? What's revenge really gonna solve in the end? Or something. I was hoping or expecting for a line maybe like that for him to really question God a little bit more, because he questions God. He and God have this eventually have a moment where it's just like, I've noticed about that you don't always agree with what I do, and the same could be said about you for me. They don't agree with each other, but they respect each other well enough. They're still talking. I'm like, I was hoping for a little bit of more of that. But for what it was, I like those conversations between him and God, because he's challenging God and God challenging him back. Um, Joel Edgerton, he's playing Ramesses. I'm glad I can actually remember his name for a change now. Um, I'll fully admit I wasn't liking his performance overly much in like the first like 20 minutes of him on screen until I actually understood how his portrayal of Ramses was. He was basically portraying him like kind of like the spoiled kid who just knows he's going to inherit his dad's fortune. Basically, he's this guy who's basically everything has been served to him. He really has no accountability whatsoever, and it's just that's kind of just played into his persona right now. And when you see him as Pharaoh, it's just it's like that. It's just kind of who he's become. He doesn't seem to understand the consequences of actions. He doesn't seem to understand humility or anything like that. He's just kind of a spoiled brat who's come into power and can't accept the fact that he's not the end all be all, and what he's doing is wrong. So after I realized that early on after watching him in a couple scenes, I'm like, oh, that's what he's going for. I immediately was perfectly fine with how he's portraying this character. I'm like, all right, that's cool, right on. Um, so yeah, I mean, there are two leads basically. I thought Naomi Rapace was in this. It was not Naomi Rapace playing his sister, maid, whatever. Um, Sigourney Weaver. Okay, Sigourney Weaver had two scenes of dialogue, and was just there to look pretty, I suppose. That was it. Sigourney Weaver had no reason to be in this. You could have had anyone else in that role. It was kind of like how I felt with Morgan Freeman in Transcendence. It's not that they're doing a bad job. They're doing fine for the roles they're given and what they have to work with. But they, they're in there so little or they're so underutilized that there's no point in having that person in that role. So I'm just watching. It's like, okay, no, Sigourney Weaver has no reason to be here. And I love Sigourney Weaver. I do. I commented how in my Ghost Roast review how she's talented. She does comedy. She does drama. She's a beautiful woman. She's got the whole package. She didn't need to be in this movie. Ben Kingsley plays was it Norm? want to say it was Norrin. I could be wrong. It sounded like that. It began with an N and an O and an R in there, I think. Um, but yeah, he's not to sound mean. He's head elder Jew. He's the head. He's the elder Hebrew, who basically tells Moses that you're Hebrew. You're one of us. And then and he's fine. He's Ben Kingsley. Ben Kingsley never even in Iron Man 3. Ben Kingsley was not bad in Iron Man 3. Just people didn't like the fact that that's what they turned Ben Kingsley into in Iron Man 3. And even then, when he was being that character in Iron Man 3, he wasn't bad. He was funny. I found him funny. At least I thought he was funny. So it's not like anything Ben Kingsley's doing is bad, and he's good for what he is. I don't think he's underutilized. His character is good the way it is, or portrayed it well enough the way it is. Um, John Turturro, that's one I should talk about. I didn't actually know he was in the film till he showed up, and I'm looking, I was like, that's John Turturro. Is that John Turturro? That is John Turturro. He's playing the Pharaoh. He's playing Ramses' dad, and Moses' adopted father, I guess. So, yeah, I'm like, okay. And John Turturro, I like John Turturro fine. I forgot John Turturro can actually really act. He's pretty good as Pharaoh, basically. As I don't know the actual name of the Pharaoh that was Ramses' dad. I don't think, in fact, I don't think they ever used his name in the movie. So yeah, I mean, what's there? I mean, the story is basically it's Moses, trying to free the Hebrews and the slaves and stuff like that. But they take different tolls. I mean, we see the fact that he leaves his family and that it's basically a test of faith and all that stuff. God's just like, I didn't make you leave your family. You left your family. It's like, and I would have just been like, fuck you. You drove me to this. I may have chose to do it, but you gave me the choice to do it. I wouldn't have left my family otherwise. You are an asshole, sir. You know it. Yeah, God's a bit of a dick in this movie. I mean, Old Testament God's kind of not a friendly dude. And he gloves you, but he's not a friendly dude. He's a God of wrath in many respects. And bringing the plagues. When the plagues happen, I like the fact that his advisor tried to scientifically explain the plagues. Because I'm like, even in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, so the water turned bloody, the frogs left the water, and then they rot. And that brings the flies and the maggots and the gnats, which brings the sickness and all that stuff. And that's how they're trying to explain it. And I'm like, that's in my mind. I'm like, oh, that's how it's going. And then hail starts, and then lightning, and then of course, the death of the firstborn, which was that was a really that scene was kind of that was intense in its own little hold your breath moment where just darkness is death, and you just hear. That's it. They were just not like some Grim Reaper hand or anything like that. Which I was kind of wondering if maybe God in the kid form was going to show up at Ramses' kid and just steal his soul or something like that. No, the kids just stop breathing, dead. So I mean, I thought the plague effects were really good, and I like the fact that I liked how they did the bloody river. The water didn't just turn to blood. It was like, cause the minute he said it's like, now watch me work. All of a sudden, crocodiles start swimming in and out. I was like, so God has a kamikaze army of crocodiles? Because they start attacking men on a boat, and then they start attacking each other to bloody up the water with blood, contaminates the blood, water with blood and stuff like that. So the frogs leave, and there's a plague of frogs, and then they rot in the sun, so the flies come, and so forth and so on, and boils and sores. I'm just like, so God's got a command of kamikaze crocodile soldiers to go with. Whatever, I'll believe that. Sure, why not? If I were God, I'd have kamikaze crocodile soldiers. Fuck you, I'd have them. But no, God is actually kind of not a. It's hard to really explain how God's a dick beyond Old Testament stuff. God actually, in my mind, God was actually being a very vengeful child. That's why I think he showed up in the form of a child in my mind. He shows up as a child who things have been wrong to the people I care about. I want revenge. I want them to suffer. Of course, it's God, so if God wants you dead, you really did fuck up. But no, I'm looking at it, it's like, wow, you really are acting like a child. God is acting like pissed off kid who wants payback, basically. And that's actually a really interesting take on the Old Testament God. You know, because we hear, if you think of the Ten Commandments, he's got this booming voice when writing the Ten Commandments, which he does not write the Ten Commandments. Moses writes the Ten Commandments in this, upon God's, advice. So there's that, and I'm like, that's an interesting choice. Now I want to talk about the visual effects because this is the first movie in a while where I've been torn on visual effects. I really have. There are times when the visual effects in this, I want to see this in IMAX almost. Some of the visual effects. The scene where the fucking Red Sea comes in and is just crashing down. Just in the theater I was in, and it was a decent sized theater, but it was your average multiplex. Um, just in there alone, you know how that you get that feeling in your chest when a wave is you're just gonna be encompassed by just a giant thing of water. That swelling feeling inside you. I was getting that at points with this in that scene. I'm like, holy crap! I need to see this on the big screen. I need to see this like in my fucking XD theater, or if there's or a local IMAX, something like that. I'm like, holy shit! There's cinematography shots. There's aerial shots that are. I mean, they look a little like models, but at the same time, you see movement, and you can easily make the distinction of, oh, that's a model, oh, that's not a model. It's almost done seamlessly. There are aerial shots that are beautiful in this movie. Some of the cinematography is just gorgeous. And yet, anytime Ramesses is on this big screen, or Ramesses is on screen when these effects are going on, it's almost like they just, for some reason, they stopped trying for a second. It's like they said, fuck it, like they're on coffee break, and they got the second string guys doing the effects. And it's just, I can tell it still looked fairly good, or fairly well done, but I could tell it was a green screen. I could. And it's been, weirdest example of this I can think of is this scene I was just talking about with the Red Sea just coming back and rushing into this giant massive wave. When it cut to Moses, I believed it. I felt that well in my chest. The minute it cut to Ramses, I'm like, I'm seeing the green screen again. And then back, it's like, oh, it's right there. I'm torn. What the hell is going on right now? There's a few shots where there's some shaky cam too, but whatever. But overall, I mean, yeah, overall I like the effects, but for some reason, Ramses sucks out some of the realism, I suppose, of the effects. And it's odd that way. Also, they glance over some things real quick, or they just introduce something and then just, like, similar to how I said how Sigourney Weaver is really underused. She's like in the movie only like, if I were to count down, I mentioned her scenes. She's in there for 15. She's only in there for this 2.5 hour movie, 15 minutes. Again, I love Sigourney Weaver, but I see no reason for her to have been in this movie. They touch on the whole his sister and adopted mother thing really quickly. Like, okay, there's that. Okay, go off. You're now exiled. Oh wait, we're never gonna meet again in this movie at all. At all. Okay. Um, you know, okay, and here's the thing. Yes, he gets married and all this stuff. And here's where I'll actually use Ten Commandments and Principles, In Ten Commandments, yes, he gets married. Yes, he has a son. I can't remember how long they devoted to him, getting to know his wife and stuff like that, and then they have the kid. In Prince of Egypt, I know they took some time to develop a relationship, at least like 20 minutes worth of time, I suppose, or actually it was like 10. And it was still enough time where we see the progression of relationship and marriage and stuff like that. And this, I think they have one talking scene together and two actual other scenes, 3 scenes in total. One of them which they talk. I'm getting married. We're gonna get married now. They never tell you how much time it's been. He meets her for the first time. He's staying over for dinner, I suppose. Staying there for a little bit to rest. They have a conversation, and then he walks in while she's like, messing with or like hanging cloth or wool. Looks at her. The next thing they're getting married. That felt really forced and rushed. That did. And then 9 years later, okay, they have the kid. They have their kid, which I assume he's like 8. He's 8 or 9. I doubt I doubt they had a kid right after. I mean, it's possible. I mean, I don't think he's not 9. It's impossible because it's obviously 9 months. So. Yeah, he's always like about 8. Um, so yeah, there's that. I mean, acting, acting, they were fine. The characters were fine. His wife is. I don't know the actress's name. I could look it up right now, but I'm not going to. I don't know the actress's name. She was fairly did a very well job. Very nice, very attractive looking woman. I don't know who that actress is though, off the top of my head. But no, she was very good. Very attractive, good performance. And as I said in my other one of my previous reviews, it was about Jennifer Lopez. I'm not gonna shoot. I'm not gonna pull your leg or twist your arm. I think someone's hot. I'll say someone's hot. She was really attractive. I mean, I'm not saying hot, but she was really attractive. I like the. Wow, I'm really getting off topic. But the fact that she had they were supposed to be tattoos, I think, but almost like religious symbols, tattoos, tribal tattoos. Kind of actually gave her a really kind of exotic look to her. She was actually a very attractive woman, and again, a good performance. Um, I can't. This movie ends on basically them wandering through the desert with the commandments in the chest of Moses' old man Moses, basically. And I'll give him credit for. It's been a while since I've seen some good old age makeup, or at least some decent old age makeup, and the makeup was decent on Christian Bale at the end there. They never say if his wife and kid are still. I would assume his kid's still alive at that point, but I'm not sure about his wife. But yeah, that's how the movie ends. So yeah, the minute actually after the whole Red Sea thing happens, feels like it's kind of just dragging its heels at that point to just end. So yeah, that's my final thoughts. I did really enjoy this actually. I'll also say one quick. The movie, was liking the movie during the first part, like the first third, but the movie didn't really pick up for me until like Moses gets exiled. Basically, starts wandering, becomes Moses the Messiah, kind of Moses the Savior. So that's the other thing. The movie really didn't start picking up steam for me until that point. I mean, it was still fine to watch. I was still enjoying myself, but it didn't really start getting me in. It really involved until that later part. So yeah, my final thoughts. I did enjoy this movie. I actually enjoyed it a lot. I would recommend you seeing it. Performances are solid. Most of the effects are pretty top notch. The story is pretty good. I mean, again, it's a good retelling. Yeah, I'm gonna give this about an 8. It's good. It's a good solid 8 out of 10. Absolutely. I recommend anyone who wants to see it. By all means, go see it. I only got one new trailer, and of course we get one about fucking believing in God and faith and Jesus and all that. It's called "Do You Believe?" and it's like, remember that movie about 2 years ago called New Year's Eve, where it was that like 50 star cast in that piece of crap. That's kind of what this is. There's like 12 stories, and it's like they're all about faith and Jesus and the cross and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I'm sure that I'm sure that you guys are putting your effort in, and that you trying so hard, and that this could even be a really good movie. This would maybe Oscars for everyone for this, for all I know. I do not care. I know it's mean to me to say. I don't bash religion. I really don't, and it has nothing to do with religion per se. It's that I don't need preachy believe, faith, God loves, all that stuff. I don't need that in my movie. I don't need a movie shoving that in my face the whole time. I do not. As you can tell, I'm obviously not very religious. I have my own beliefs in what life is and stuff like that. I don't believe in one single God or anything like that. Blah 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 blah. I'm not gonna get into my religious views and debate or anything like that with anyone. I'm not. I'm just saying that, and even if here's the thing. Even if I was even somewhat religious, I would not want it crammed in my face throughout an entire movie saying, believe, believe, believe in the power of Christ, believe in God, believe. No, 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 no. The only people, and I really don't want to sound mean when I'm saying this. The only people I can see doing this are really the die-hard faith people, or just the people who are really religious. And if you like that movie, that's fine. It's fine. It probably isn't even going to be a bad movie per se. I'm sure all the performances are going to. I'm sure it's going to be touching. I'm sure it's going to be that. I just don't need faith thrown in my face. You can tell it actually kind of annoys me. It does, because I hate people. I hate people in general who try to shove faith and religion in your face, whether you want it or not, whether you need faith or whether you don't need faith. I hate people who try to force it on you, and that's what this movie is. It is trying to force faith. It's trying to force religious belief, belief on you through this movie. It's like, oh, all these miracles and all these faith are tested, but don't worry, because God's got a plan and all that, and you know, believe in God and everything will be okay. But have the faith and everything will be good. I don't like movies that do that. I don't like the clearly religious movies. Now you're saying, oh, you saw Exodus about Moses and stuff like. Really, you're really gonna argue that point. That really over religious. This is the story that's been done over and over and over again in multiple movie formats. This is a story that's in the Bible. I'm pretty sure. Again, I don't read I have never read the Bible in my life. I'll be flat honest. I don't know for certain if it's in the Bible, but I assume it's. I'm pretty sure it's a biblical story. It's a biblical tale. And some of those do have some based in truth. I actually am curious. That was one thing going through the movie that it was Moses. I mean, obviously, something like the God parting the Red Sea and that stuff like that. That's done for the movie and the story. But was Moses a real person? I mean, Jesus, we know for a fact was a real person. We don't know anything. The arguments of faith aside, Son of Christ aside, whether things happen, we don't know. We have, those of you who have faith believe it happens. That's fine. We don't know for certain all that happens. But was Moses a real person? That's actually something I'd like to know. Was Moses a real person? Did he actually maybe lead people, lead slaves, lead Hebrews out of Egypt? Give them freedom and stuff like that in some way, shape, or form. And are the tales we hear in the Bible, see through the films, retellings of the events of a real person. That's actually something I would really like to know. If you know this, if any of you actually do happen to know that, if he did exist in some form, I would actually be interested in hearing that. I'd actually be really fascinated to know. But yeah, I didn't mean to rant about that. Honestly, I hate people who I hate people who try to force belief on people. I hate that. I really do. That is a pet peeve of mine. The forcing belief is not something I condone. People choose to believe what they want to believe. If you find faith in something, that's great. If you find faith in something that others believe, that's great too. If you can find communion and family and in like a home with these people, I completely applaud you for that. But do not go around trying to force it on other people. That's why I hate people like the Westboro Baptist Church who are just trying to force their crap on people. That's why I hate overly religious Christians or Catholics or even Jewish people. I hate that. I hate people like that because it's our freedom of choice. It's if you really want to get technical, God gave us the freedom to choose. Let us choose what we want to choose. Do not force it on us. So, wow, I really did not mean to go into that kind of rant. I just started going off on a whole goddamn religious rant, and I did not mean to do that. So, yeah, so that's how I'm going to end this on fuck you who force it on us. But yeah, no, I recommend it. I do. If you've been looking forward to seeing this, if you're interested in seeing this, I absolutely recommend seeing it. It was actually a really enjoyable film, and for 2.5 hours, it was not a bad sit. It was not. I do believe it picks up about a third of the way in. So if you're having a little problem sitting through the first third, just wait it out. It should be fine. If you're not, then you'll be fine. So yeah, I gave it an 8 out of 10. So next week is it's a trifecta next week. It's Night at the Museum 3 and Annie. That comes out on Thursday. Well, it comes out Friday, but pre-screens are Thursday. I'll probably catch. No, I'm actually not sure which one I'm going to catch. Because I actually do have some things I need to get done on Friday. I'll probably end up catching them both. Though my funds are a little tight for next week, so I may have to settle for catching one next week. Two next week, and then catch the third one in the following week leading up to Christmas. But next week's The Hobbit. I'm gonna be there. I'm not. I can't. Gonna be. Assuming there's a pre-screening, I'm not gonna be there for the pre-screening. I will, however, be there for. I'll be there on Wednesday because it comes out officially on Wednesday. So, and I know for a fact Mark has Wednesdays off, and Mark and Sam are the big Lord of the Rings guys, Lord of the Rings fans. I enjoy the Hobbit movies quite a lot, actually. I enjoy them more than the Lord of the Rings, which sort of probably shocks a lot of people. Um, but no, yeah, we'll be there. Open arms. You know, probably some snacks. That we're gonna be there for the Hobbit, Battle of the Five Armies. I hear it's actually the shortest one too, which is interesting. Like it's barely clocking in at 2 hours or 2.5 hours. Actually, no, I hear it's like just a little over 2 hours, like 2 hours and 15 minutes. So yeah, it's gonna be whatever. It's quicker said, I guess, and it makes it more rewatchable too. To help it at the box office. So yeah, next week's Hobbit, then followed by Annie and Night at the Museum. I'll tell you which one I'll probably see after we see the Hobbit. So thank you for watching, and thank you for dealing with my religious rants. Sorry about that. Night, folks.